Hi, welcome to Totally Honest Reviews. My name's Gary, and today I wanted to go over the Ride1up Limited. This is my own personal bike. I bought it with my own money. It's not being sponsored, and I've had it for several months now. I'm really enjoying it. There are a lot of great things about this bike. There are a few things that I'd like to see improved, but overall, I think it's a pretty good value, and I'll go into all the details of why. Then we'll take it out for a ride. I'll show you how it handles on hills, because I think that's really important to a lot of people, is how does it handle hills? I'm in my mid-60s, and riding up hills is a little more difficult than it used to be when I was younger, so I needed that extra boost. And some of the hills around here are very challenging. So if that's important to you, you'll want to stay tuned for that portion of the video, and we'll get started. Thanks. Before we take this out for a test ride, I thought I would go over some of the components of the bike. It's important to note that the components change on occasion based on supply chain issues, but generally when they do change components, it's for something of equal quality or better. So starting with the tires, the bike ships with a pair of 27.5 inch by 2.4 inch wide tires by LMTD. They're great for street riding and commuting. They're not really designed for off-road. The ones I'm showing you here though, these are Schwalbe, and I switched to a 2.0 inch tire only because I feel like the bike has a little more nimble ride with a narrower tire, but it's all up to your own personal taste. It's got 180 millimeter rotors paired with Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, and I've had no problems stopping from high speeds, and very confident with the performance of these brakes. The fork is an air fork, which is supposed to be better than a coil spring fork. I really haven't felt a whole lot of difference in the other bikes that I've ridden, but it's supposed to be a better quality. It handles the bumps really well. Takes some of the shock out of, going over a bumpy road or, a pothole or on occasion. So it's performed well so far for me. It also includes a front light, which is 60 lux. It's bright enough. It's not great for, if you're going to do a lot of nighttime riding, you might want something a little bit brighter, but it does the job, and it lights the path ahead of you. The display is a 2.2 inch color display, which offers a lot of different pieces of information. How much power you're currently consuming, your mile per hour, your battery level, your current odometer reading, trip mileage, and level of assist. This is also where you would turn on your headlights, and if you notice, when the headlights turn on, the screen does dim. Next to that is a throttle. You can get up to 20 miles per hour on throttle only on this bike. The bike's capability is 28 miles per hour with motor assist. That makes it a Class 3 bike. I've added a bell down here. Always good to warn people that you're coming. The grips here are a nice rubber grip with palm support. That kind of takes the fatigue off your wrists a bit when you're riding for long periods of time. Over here is the Shimano Rapid Shifter, and this is the one I prefer on all my bikes. If the bike ships with something else, I usually replace it with this. So this bike comes with a 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery that loads from the top here, and that's one of the things I really like about it, is a lot of bikes, the battery loads from the bottom. So when you turn the key, it pulls out just a little bit, and then you have to kind of turn the wheel and fiddle the battery out. Where here, it just pops up, or you just pull it up, and that's it. And you just pull it out if you want to charge it away from the bike, or you can just leave it in, and there's a charge port on the side. It does have a little indicator. Blue means it's fully charged. Down below, it's got a 44 tooth chainring, which is sufficient enough, when you're riding at high speeds, you're not going to experience a lot of ghost pedaling. And for those of you who don't know what that is, ghost pedaling is when the bike is going faster than you can pedal, so it feels like you're pedaling air. I don't find that to be very much fun. And one of the things that helps with that is the torque sensor that's on this bike. It senses how much pressure you're putting on the pedals and adjusts how much assist it gives you based on that, as opposed to a cadence sensor, which really just checks to see whether you're pedaling or not, and then engages the motor. So it really doesn't coincide with how much effort you're putting in. It's really just, are you pedaling? Back here is an Altus derailleur, which is one step up from their basic entry-level tourney. The one thing I find here is from the tourney all the way up, as long as these things are properly maintained and tuned, they work great. So I wouldn't really worry about the level of derailleur you're using, unless you're, a professional cyclist or, competitive cyclist. It's not going to matter. That's paired with a 11 tooth by 32 tooth cassette, which should give you enough range for tackling hills and for, flat level riding at high speed. On the other side here is the other rotor and Tektro hydraulic disc brake. That again is 180 millimeters. A couple other things to note: it uses Welgo pedals, which are fairly standard on a lot of bikes. The bike ships with a Sella Royale saddle that I swapped out for a Bone Traeger saddle only because I felt the saddle that came with it was a little too hard. But again, this is all a matter of personal taste and shape and all of that. So this particular saddle I put on a couple of different bikes and I like it a lot. It seems to fit me well. So that's the basic componentry of the bike. I may have missed out on a couple of things, but all of the specs are on the website. So if you need more detail, I encourage you to go there and have a look. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I usually take off from like gear 3 or 4. You don't have to go all the way down to 1 from a stop on flat level ground. You're better off staying 2 or 3 or even 4 if you want, but you don't need to shift all the way down to 1. And I'm going to have it on pedal assist 1, and that kind of offsets the weight of the bike. The bike is about 53 pounds without a rack or fenders or any of that, so once you add those things you're going to add a couple more pounds, but that's pretty light for an e-bike. Some of these e-bikes get up to like 70-80 pounds and can be as light as 40, maybe even lighter if you go for a carbon fiber. Right now, going downhill about 24 miles an hour. I'm going to shift up to 8. Up my pedal assist for this big hill coming up. And the way I ride, I generally will shift when I feel the need. It's all depends on you and how you like to ride, but like right now I'm going about 8 miles an hour, pedal assist 5. I'm not really pedaling hard at all, and I'm on like a 15 grade hill, so gives you an idea. And I'm still in 8th gear. If I shift down, it's just leisurely ride, like the hill's not there. So as I mentioned earlier, I put on 2-inch wide tires as opposed to the 2.4 inch. It's a lot more nimble ride, but the trade-off is that the ride might be a little bit more bumpy with a narrower tire. Honestly, the 0.4 difference doesn't make a ton of difference on that. So like I said, it's a nice comfortable ride. Easy to pedal when you want. If you want to get a little more exercise, just lower your pedal assist and you'll have to work a little bit harder, that's all. All right, well, that's it for the test ride. We had a little hill in there. Hope there wasn't too much wind noise. And that's it for now. So there you have it, the Ride1up Limited. As I said earlier in the video, I think it's an excellent value. You get a 750 watt motor with 95 Newton meters of torque. You get a torque sensor, which is a much more intuitive ride compared to a cadence sensor, and it's a little bit more expensive part as well. It also has an integrated front light, which a lot of bikes don't. But also, as I said earlier in the video, there are some things I'd like to see them improve or offer. For example, I think they should offer this bike with fenders and a rear rack instead of you having to add it yourself. I think that would add some value to the bike. I think they also need to add a rear light or a rear brake light. And I think that's important for safety, and it should be standard on any bike you buy. The other things I'd like to see them offer is maybe a couple more color options. You know, this matte color is fine for a lot of people. I like a glossy paint, and I'd like to see a couple of different color offerings. But overall, I think it's a pretty complete bike, and I think it's something that you should consider if you're looking for an e-bike. I'll leave a link for this bike in the description below, and please do like and subscribe. It'll help me bring additional videos like this to you. And also, leave me any comments you like. Any feedback is welcome. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them or find an answer for you. But until then, thanks for watching, and I really appreciate your time.